All right. Well, hey, welcome everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Scott. And again, my name is Kyle Rosenmeyer. I'm a model-based design leader over at VHB, and very excited to bring you guys this presentation today called "Bridging the Gap to Digital Delivery." And before I get into it, I just want to point out that my goal for everyone here is to take away useful action items that you can take to your teams, to your company or agencies, management or leadership to help drive positive change in your organization. This is great stuff. This really is the future of our industry. And I want to give you guys actionable items that you can do literally starting tomorrow to help drive positive change. So with that, just a little more of an introduction about me. I'm a civil engineer is my background. Grew up in Idaho, attended Boise State University. I have worked, I've had the great fortune in my career to work in a number of different interesting type of projects and work for different agencies and companies, kind of big and small. And I've been able to see a lot and learn a lot. And it's in 2018, I also had the great fortune of doing a coding boot camp, which just so happened to coincide with the same year I was really exposed to the civil tools in the Open Roads Designer platform. So, literally learning how to program and learning about the principles of programming while simultaneously being exposed to kind of intelligent geometry and the application of programming to really drive engineering intent into 3D models, that was a very fortunate coincidence for me, and it really kind of set the stage with how I think about technology now and how I do training and really coach people on getting the most out of these design products. So I can't say enough good things about applying programming and the mindset of programming into engineering. I think they're hugely complementary skill sets. And like Scott mentioned, I also was very fortunate to be a part of one of the early Premier Scholar programs in 2021. And I've basically made this my full-time job at VHB, focused purely on technology and what we call model-based design. I'll get into that here in just a second. So what we're going to cover today in this Bridging the Gap presentation, I'm going to explain a little bit to you guys about VHB's experience with bridging this gap and our model-based design training. I'm going to define as literally as I can the gap. What's holding us back? What is making us feel like the future is just out of reach? And then this is the actionable part of the presentation is that we're going to talk about the bridge. Things that you can do around technology, things you can do with people, things that you can do to help drive better change management, and how you can measure your progress. All right, so let's get into the VHB experience here. And this is really a philosophy, I like to say, about how we think about digital delivery, and that is model-based design. This is a mindset for infrastructure models. We are teaching the engineers and designers at our company to think about the data, the project data, and this is very similar message to what you've been hearing along the conference so far this week, that the data itself is the product. That is the focus of your work. That's the focus of the engineering input, and that is the focus of the largely automated outputs. Plans and reports and the types of documents we create today to go build infrastructure, those are really, if you really think about it, those are secondary outputs. Those are secondary products to the CAD data itself. So we need to have that primary mindset kind of focused on that data. That is really where we got to start to set the right foundation and the right mindset for digital delivery. Obviously, this leads to some other really wonderful things, like having a single source of truth for all of the data in your project. This is an incredible kind of process and mindset, again, to really remove potential human error and really get people aligned around this idea that the project model and the data in that model, that is the engineering product you're producing. And when we do that well, we also get the benefit of real collaborative workflows and real interactive communication tools and review tools. If any of you saw Joey's presentation about infrastructure cloud updates and the iTwin platform earlier in the week, that is what I'm talking about there. When we're able to bring these models in the infrastructure cloud, they really come alive and give all of the project data to all of the people on the project in a way that we've just never been able to do before. So I highly recommend watching that video if you missed it. It's a great insight into those tools. So all of the training that I'm doing at VHB around Bentley software all starts with our training model. And this is not necessarily all of the Bentley products that we leverage in our model-based design training, but it's a good snapshot of different platforms and different tools that we use to visualize the same project data, starting from Concept Station with very basic sketches and ideas of the project, into very highly detailed LOD models in the OpenX Designer products, mainly Open Roads and Open Bridge, putting all of that data into infrastructure cloud for review, collaboration, visualization, communication, all kinds of wonderful things that we can do with that data once we're in infrastructure cloud. And then also visualizing and really bringing the project data to life with visualization apps like LumenRT, which is really today's generation's tech for visualization, and even looking at kind of what's down the road, what's around the corner with next-gen visualization tools like the LumenRT app in NVIDIA's Omniverse. So all of this is delivered at VHB through what we call our Model-Based Design Coaches program. And we were very humbled and very excited by receiving a recognition from Bentley last year during the Year in Infrastructure conference for our efforts to advance infrastructure in our industry through this really a next level training program where we have taken a certain percentage of our staff and put them through a 100-hour, 12-week course that it really goes end to end with this mindset of the data being the product, working through real life examples of connections of data between elements and between disciplines in our next level training model, and really talking about how to achieve and how to change our practices to make this the standard day-to-day experience for people at our firm, right? And this came with building a new community of practitioners and really with many things working together, which I'll address later in the presentation, a great solution for us to work on the very difficult issue of change management. And of course, all along the way, we cannot forget that we are civil engineers, and the way we think about our work, the way we apply engineering principles, and the way we think critically about our design decisions, we can't lose any of that along the way. In fact, we have to leverage the tools that we are using for design to enhance that thinking. So we've had great experience. We had a great experience with this training program, and really had we've had very happy people come out of this training program. So this is just a little bit about what VHB is doing, and I want to just take a second to kind of zoom out now and talk about why we're doing this, right? Why is all of this really necessary right now? And this, to understand the gap, you really have to take a look at broad themes in technology adoption that have been kind of present in the industry over the last 30 years, right? Really over our lifetimes. For a long time, many of you can probably point to 3D models we've been able to make in software as early as, say, 1998, year 2000. So we're talking over 25 years we've been able to do 3D models in a lot of this engineering software. So why hasn't that stuff taken over already, Why isn't everyone working in intelligent 3D models right now if those things have been available for 30 years? Well, there have been a lot of constraints, right? You think just a couple things here. This is not a totally inclusive list, but we've had software capability constraints. The software hasn't always been able to do the thing we've needed to do. We've obviously over that time period, computers have made amazing advancements. So we've had a lot of restrictions with what you could do with a computer, right? That have been slowly melting away as memory increases, as processing increases. And that kind of goes hand in hand with that software capability. We've had other limiting constraints related more to how you use the software. You may have had difficult workflows in the past where you really had to be a high level expert to achieve some level of automation or achieve some like really valuable outcome in a 3D model, where those same outcomes are available to people with much less training today, or they're available to people with a much lower degree of technical skill today. And then there's of course always been issues with cost or access. How available is it to people? How easy is it for them to get started? So these things have been getting better over time. And I would suggest that with the technology that we have today, a lot of these things are solved, right? So we're seeing kind of just over the last few years, the technology constraints in the industry are really kind of melting away right now. And what we're getting into now is what I would call the emerging dominant constraint, which is really us. It's the human constraint. It's the fact that if we have technology today that can solve all of these amazing engineering challenges and produce these incredible 3D models, and we ask ourselves, why isn't everyone able to produce these? We have to look first at the individual, right? We simply don't have a workforce right now that across the board is really capable of producing these high-level models, right? And that kind of boils down to training, right? How are people learning? How long is their learning curve taking for them to achieve, useful skills and abilities in the software? We're also seeing gaps in mentorship, where we have a generation of more senior engineers that really never used the technology in the way that we're using it today. But they're still trying to manage projects, manage tasks, and mentor younger engineers on the art of engineering itself, on the principles of engineering. But the way those things are applied in the design tools is obviously changing with the software and with the technology. So there's a gap here in how we're mentoring younger engineers. And then, of course, you're going to see change management come up a lot in these slides, because that is just honestly, it's just a difficult thing for humans, right? It's difficult to take something that you've done for a long time a certain way and all of a sudden recalibrate your mind to think differently about that thing. That's a very well-studied topic in corporate America, change management. And this is definitely one of the barriers that we have to overcome. And then the final thing I want to point out about the human constraints is that requirements are not always clear. We're proceeding forward into this digital era of infrastructure, while at the same time, what's required to deliver a contractor isn't necessarily changing at the same rate. And standards and policies with infrastructure owners and permitting agencies, those things are not necessarily changing at the same rate either. So there is a little bit of confusion going on, between major stakeholders in the industry. So let's try to sum all that up, right? And this is why this is not a trivial topic that we're talking about. To bridge the gap to digital delivery, we must solve for the technology and the human constraints out there, right? We have to fit these solutions to our company's cultures and core values. And that's going to vary a little bit from firm to firm or agency to agency. And we have to acknowledge that while we're trying to achieve this rather difficult thing, we also don't have control over all the inputs, right? There's things changing in the industry that obviously are occurring at other levels or other companies that you have no control over. And there's a lot of contributing factors in the market that are very hard to predict. So this is really not that easy to do, you guys. Bridging the gap it sounds relatively easy, but it really is not. So let's go ahead and talk about the bridge now. And just a quick point I want to make, we're going to get to the end of this, and I would love to have a rich discussion with everyone on the call, and I'd be happy to answer as many questions as we can get through at the end of the presentation. And I'm going to try to leave some time here for us to do some demo. I'd love to show you guys our training model. I'd love to go drive the project with you. I also have some other pretty cool tools that we've been developing at VHB related to AI that I'd love to bring up too and show you guys. So I just want to point that out as we get through the bridge section of the presentation, that I'd love to save some time for discussion and demo at the end. So let's talk about changes that you can make today at your organization to help advance your organization towards digital delivery. Step number one, build better models, right? Or in this case, since most people need to see examples before they really can apply things in their career and on their projects, I would say build better training models. Just a couple quick facts about VHB's training model. The core purpose of building this training model was to demonstrate a model that maximizes data connections, that minimizes the total number of elements, right? No repeat elements. That maximizes the use of civil cells, right? If you're going to draw something more than once that you can program the input for, why draw it more than once? Make a civil cell out of it. This model is full of civil cells, geometry-based and model-based, and leave nothing out. You can see in the screenshot here that there is roadway, there is bridge, we have utilities, we have lights, we have signs, we have pavement markings, we have bushes and trees. You guys, you can use point feature definitions to bring the landscaping into the model and spatially constrain it just like you would constrain anything else. So there is no discipline left out in this model. Everyone is represented. This Bentley training model was constructed across approximately 35 DGN files, including all of the disciplines that I mentioned. I didn't mention drainage. We definitely have closed drainage systems in here as well. Everything is constrained, right? This is, again, one of the goals of this training model is maximum intelligence, right? So everything in here moves. Just as a quick example, we recently made some bridge updates to this model to get ready for some upcoming open bridge training, and I widened one of my bridges. And you can see that these bridges are tied to MSE walls and roadways above and ponds below. And I was able to widen a bridge, move the road to correspond to the new bridge width, and update all the tie-ins in less than an hour. And I just would like to ask you, if you've ever had to do that type of design change, how long would you estimate that it took you to do it? Right? If you can start measuring workflows that might have taken you days or weeks, right, with totally static data sets, with a 2D drafting mindset, and you start doing these activities in an hour, this is a big deal, you guys. This really unlocks a lot of time to focus on the engineering of the project and on the design of the project. This model contains approximately 9,000 total elements, right? And it's about 73 acres. It's a full interchange project. We use 6 corridor templates for everything that you see here. Build time, let's talk about that for just a second. We've done a couple major iterations on this model, and we actually track the total editing time, which is a standard DGN property. We track total editing time, and we expose that data in Infrastructure Cloud. So the project manager can actually look at how much time it took to build the model. Another real incredible data connection. And the current build time on all these 3D files right now is roughly 350 to 450 hours. Now think about that for a second. Less than 500 hours for an entire interchange model. That's incredible, you guys. That is the type of thing that really starts opening up all kinds of opportunities for us. And it's all possible by leveraging the design software to the maximum extent. Now, there's also a lot of attributes in this model. It's fully attributed with item types. We have approximately 2,500 instances of applied item types in this model that can extract approximately $48 million of quantities. So this model has instant cost estimates and instant quantity takeoffs. Another incredible innovation, you guys, that is just through item types alone. By fully attributing your model, you can make your design changes and in literally minutes update those large project-wide scale outputs for quantity takeoffs and cost. There's 16 unique item types being used in this model with two different lookup tables, one for pay item data and one for cost data. And we have a few item types as well to measure things like location and DGN properties, like I mentioned, with the total editing time. Now, another key aspect here of the model is that you have and should expect that all the roadway information, all the roadway corridors, all the civil cells, all the nonlinear modeling, basically everything you have in the roadway files should produce a complete project surface, right? And there may be different levels of this, like a subgrade surface, finished surface minus top course of asphalt, or final top surface. You could have different levels of it. But this is a very quickly generated, like less than 1 minute to generate this surface. And this is through a graphical filter, which many of you are using already to generate surfaces. But this 73-acre surface that includes approximately 140, it is updated easily, updated within minutes. And as changes to the project occur, right, as design updates occur, the surface is simply updated from its graphic filter while it preserves its element ID. And that's a very important point to make, because all of those point assets that you saw, the drainage structures, the lights, the bushes, the pavement markings, everything that's related to the road is all vertically constrained to that surface. So you not only have a project-wide surface that's very easy to update from all the roadway data, but you can take all the other disciplines elements, constrain them to that dynamic surface, and they move too when you need to make an update to the proposed surface. Again, you guys, I'll use the word again. That is incredible. That saves so much rework, like on the orders of magnitude level. And this makes a big difference in project outcomes. So step one, build better models, right? And you can see tons of amazing demonstrations from Bentley, including at conferences like this one. And there is really nothing holding you back from learning how to combine the tools like this in the software today. Pretty good stuff, right? So step number two, people. We can't do any of this without people, right? And I'm going to get just a little bit philosophical with you guys for a moment. If you take a look at really any technology, think of personal computers, think of the internet, think of smartphones, think of the DVD, the CD player, any technology really that you've seen. Consumer examples are the easiest to think about. In the beginning, things are uncertain. You're not really sure if this technology is going to take off. You're not really sure who the best people are with the technology. It's kind of soupy in the beginning, right? But in hindsight, you can always look back. Like statistically, you can always look back at a technology adoption and paint this normalized distribution curve. So think of the moment we're in right now, you guys. We are in the moment of transition, right, to digital delivery. It's like we're right in that chasm right there, right in that green section where we're trying to go uphill. We're trying to drive this adoption, right? We're kind of struggling sometimes to get over this gap. And it's really hard to know, like, where are you in this curve, right? Are you going to be an innovator? Are you going to be an early adopter? Are you going to be, I hope no one's a laggard on this call, but are you going to be a laggard? Are you going to be one of the last to adopt this technology? Um, Statistically, you will always have a distribution that looks like this for any population of people. We will look back at a year. It's hard to say which year, but we will look back at a certain year at this industry, and we will know where everyone fell on this chart, right? And one of the things that you can take away today to start working on for in your organization is identifying who those innovators and early adopters might be in your organization, because those are the people that you really need to invest in, right? Those are the people that we recruited to our model-based design coaches program. And statistically, that is 17 out of 100 people that fall in that category, right? About 2%, 2.5% of the population are innovators. And then another like 13 or so percent are early adopters. So just think of that number, like 17 out of 100. If your organization has at least 100 people in it, for sure, you will be able to look back in hindsight and say, these were the 17 that really helped drive that change. So you want to try to find those people early, and you want to invest in them 10x whatever you usually invest in your employees for learning and professional development. Take whatever your policy is for learning and professional development. Those 17 out of 100 people, they need 10x of that to start. And you will start unlocking the types of technology innovations in your projects like what you see in the VHP training model. So step number 2 is find the people, right? And they're really not that hard to find if you look around and start asking questions. Think about who is displaying intellectual curiosity, who is trying to solve things that they're really not being asked to solve, but they're trying to do it to learn how the software works. They're trying to automate things for their own sake because they want to know how to automate it. Think about who is approachable in your company when people have problems. Just think like when people get stuck with the CAD software, who do they go to? Who do they go seek out answers from? These often are the people that are in this category. They're the people that organically rose to the occasion anyway, because that's who they are. That's how they want to be, regardless of recognition of title or role at the company. Those are the people that you really want to invest, like I said, 10x into, because they will return an ROI for your company or your organization that really is next level. And I can't say enough good things about the model-based design coaches that we have at VHB. We have really loved going through the training program with them, and I am just amazed every day by the types of things that they're unlocking in their work after completing the training program. So that's step number 2, right? Is invest in your innovators and early adopters. All right, step number 3, change management. Always a tough topic, right? And I want to start this topic off with a quote from Jeff Bezos. And this is really, I think, spot on with how we need to be thinking about the industry, is that you need to be stubborn on vision, but flexible on the details, right? The vision here is a world where we build infrastructure from intelligent 3D models, and we deliver them digitally for bid and construction by a highly advanced contracting industry. That's our vision, right? The world is clearly going there. But how we get there, not a single one of us on this call can accurately predict. There's no way all of us or any of us could know every step along the way between where we're at right now and that future, right? So we got to be stubborn on that vision because we know that's going to happen and it's better for our industry than staying put where we're at today. But how we get there, we have to be very flexible about because we're going to learn all kinds of things along the way. We're going to need to make lots of pivots and we're going to need to kind of roll with the punches, as they say. So I have 3 points here I want to bring up about change management to help you think better about making positive change at your organization. So number one here, we'll call this 3.1, is that decision makers must be aligned. I can promise all of you that I would not have been able to make any of the change I've made at VHB if I didn't have support from our leadership. And I'm very grateful for that. Having the decision makers at your organization be aligned around the vision is incredibly important, right? This is a very difficult thing to do without resources and without that support. So 3.2, innovators must work together. Let's say that you've done a great job surveying your organization and finding that 17 out of 100 people. You have to bring them together. You can't keep them where they're at today, working in whatever nature of silos they may be in, whether that's geographical because they're at different offices, or maybe based by the type of work they do, like they do different disciplines, so they just don't have a natural bridge between each other. You got to build that community. And it's a good time to just take a look at the picture on the screen here. This is a shot of our first model-based design cohort at VHB from last spring. And we're actually on our fourth cohort this fall. And each time we've done this training program, we have brought people together across our company, right? Across the entire footprint in many different offices and of many different backgrounds and many different disciplines, right? And even though this is a Bentley conference, we even mix Autodesk and Bentley people together because the philosophy at the end of the day is the same philosophy. So we put all of these innovators together to really work on these problems as a unified group, right? That is our model-based design community. And I would suggest to you that that is also very important in succeeding with changing your organization around this digital era of infrastructure. 3.3, this last bullet here, you have to understand that progress will be incremental, right? You may have some major breakthroughs from time to time, but this is going to be one of those evolutions where when you measure it every single day, it's going to seem like the steps are small. But over time, you're going to look back after 6 months, after 12 months, and you're going to see, hey, we're doing stuff now that we weren't doing before. We've made obvious progress when you look at a large enough period of time. Now, the rate of, I want to point this out too, the rate of your progress is going to be determined by your internal feedback loop, right? And that sounds a little vague, so I'll say it much more specifically now. This is troubleshooting, you guys. This is the amount of time that it takes between someone trying a thing on their computer, on their project, and it not working. It's the time it takes you to respond to that person and get them back on the right track, right? If that person on the computer trying that workflow, if they struggle for 3 or 4 hours and get frustrated and give up and go back to the workflow that they were comfortable with, then your feedback loop is obviously very inefficient. It's very long, right? And it might be broken. If you never get back to that person at all, it might just be a broken feedback loop. So that progress that you're really going to experience is going to be determined by how you deal with those incremental things, those little individual issues that come up day to day across your organization. And that's why I can't do this by myself. If you took a single person at any organization and said, you are responsible for leading digital delivery at this company, that one person will never be able to be kind of over the shoulder of the individuals doing the work all across your organization. They won't be able to fulfill a tight internal feedback loop. So you have to have a lot of people to help with this. And that kind of ties right back into leadership and community. All these are connected together, right? So that's step number 3, tips on dealing with change management. All right, step 4, progress. How do we measure what we're doing? This is a really good one, you guys. Let's start top to bottom here. Early on, as you are changing the way your company does their work and you are really pushing forward with the adoption of 3D models and the mindset of data as the product, and everyone is really learning these incredible new workflows and taking the time to understand how the software works, you won't have a lot of quantitative KPI information available to you early. So you got to look at the qualitative stuff early. Look at people's satisfaction. Like I said, we put a lot of people through our model-based design coaches program, and they are some of the happiest people I've ever met, right? They love what they're doing. Look at people's satisfaction. If they're happy and they enjoy coming to work every day and working on their projects using this design software every day, you're doing something right. Right? Look for the personal achievements. Look for those markers where a person tells you, no matter how big or small, that I figured something out. I can do something now that I couldn't do before. Or better yet, something that I spent X number of hours doing before, I can do in 1/10 of the time now. Look for those personal achievements, right? And also look at the changing perceptions, right? That could be internal or external, but you're gonna start seeing that, hey, like that team over there, they're producing work that I've never seen them produce before. Look at how fast I got these plans done, and they were very accurate. We just had the best QC review ever from what this team has been able to deliver in the past. Or think of the owner side. Owners, if you're getting projects delivered by consultants, think about that product you're getting, right? Is it better than before? Are you getting responses faster? Are you getting better results on design reviews? Those perceptions, right? Although a little bit harder to measure, those perceptions are signs that you're doing it right. And then longer term, this might take months, could take longer than months, depending on your rate of progression. Look at things that you can measure that are hard, that are quantitative. I would start with the composition of your review comments. As we work through models, right, and especially as we iterate our models on iTwin, and we do our model reviews on iTwin, you're going to see that is by far the most superior tool to do design iteration and design review. So the composition of your review comments on a set of PDF plans, right now, I would suggest you're starting somewhere around 100% of your design feedback is coming through those plans, right? This is the way I came up in the industry, doing red lines, right? Turning plans in, getting them marked up, responding to the comments on the plans, and doing the work in CAD. The composition of those types of comments, design-related comments in PDF plans, that type of comment is going to trend to 0. When you are doing this really well, you're going to make plans to turn in, but those plans are not going to have design comments in them because you sorted out all the design issues in the model. And the only type of comments you should be seeing in PDF plans are related to plans production, like a text clash or a plotting issue, right? And then the most obvious KPIs will be related to schedule and budget, right? When a team is working well with model-based design and they're working efficiently, you're going to obviously find that you're not going to have problems meeting schedules. You're not going to have problems dealing with design changes, especially late-stage design changes. And obviously the financials of the project are going to look healthier than ever. So those are going to be the longer-term KPIs. But you got to start small and start by looking at the people doing the work, right? Measuring the progress. All right, so there's one more point. I know we're getting down to the last 15 minutes here, so I'm gonna go very quick through this, guys, before we get into some demo. I just want to kind of point out a little bit about the future, right? the future is obviously digital here. Right? I've said this a lot. I think you guys have seen that from this conference. But there is a lot of noise out there right now. Right? So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that out of all the noise that's in the industry, all the things that don't seem to be going well, that seem to be holding us back, that seem to be, more trouble than they're worth, that a lot of that stuff actually doesn't matter. A lot of that stuff is noise. You can really cut through that noise and separate the signal from that noise if you really think about solutions that make people's lives better and solutions that make the outcome of your engineering product better, right? Think about the automated quantities and the costs that I mentioned earlier in our training model. That is signal. That's something we can program in our model that saves us an incredible amount of time. And if we show the training model in Infrastructure Cloud, I'll show you how to visualize those quantities. It's really incredible signal, you guys. You're going to find those applications of technology by being curious. Leverage your intellectual curiosity. You'll find the stuff that really matters, right? This is also a point of time in the industry where we really need to challenge things. That kind of statement, that cliche statement of we've always done it this way, right? That statement, you're going to hear that a lot, right? People that are just comfortable with things being done a certain way. And we're all human, you guys. Any one of us is capable of falling into that kind of comfort zone. But we got to challenge those things. If this is a time to ask yourself, is the requirement clearly rooted in a fundamental of engineering or safety? If it's not, we should really question on, is that the best way to do that thing? Because with the rapid advances in the technology and the way the tools work, there may be a much better way to deliver that thing that looks totally different than how we did it before. But if you really stay rooted in what's truly fundamental to engineering, what's truly fundamental to safety of the traveling public, that should really be what guides our, right? And remember, with all the CAD software that we're comfortable with today, that software was new at one point in time too, right? So there is a lot of resistance you may find in your organization or outside of it, where people really want things a certain way because that's what they know. And this is not the time to be comfortable with that stuff. This is the time to challenge those requirements. And I like to say to my folks, this is the time to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? That's what an industry in a massive state of transition feels like. And then the last point I want to make here is accelerate your rate of learning. And this is something I'd be happy to demo for you guys. AI chat assistants are so good right now. There is really no reason why any person working in this industry shouldn't be using a customized chatbot to help them troubleshoot workflows in the software, right? And I built one for people at VHB that leverages all of the online content, right? So people have this amazing little Bentley bot that they can ask questions to and really help troubleshoot things faster. Think back to that point of progress being limited by your internal feedback loop, right? AI can help us with that stuff. So these are things that you can do to separate signal from noise. And then the last point I just want to make here is I'd like to just shout out to Bentley, all the great work they're doing. Honestly, thank you, Bentley. You guys are doing incredible work with your Connect platform. I would definitely declare that when you think of all connectivity between the OpenX software together, that this is the best in class platform for model-based design. I love the fact that buildings and bridges, rails, roads, and sites all seamlessly connect together. We saw the open ground stuff demonstrated this week and geotech coming into the fold. This is an amazing design experience that's made possible by literally a decade of very hard work by the Bentley development team. So thank you, Bentley, for delivering that Connect platform over the last decade and staying true to it. I also want to acknowledge Bentley's work on Infrastructure Cloud. and perhaps more importantly, the underlying framework, iTwin.js. That is world-changing technology that's coming out of Bentley in infrastructure cloud. And again, if you didn't see Joey's presentation earlier this week about infrastructure cloud, I'd highly recommend going back and watching it. You will see what I mean. Best-in-class digital twins. I have not seen a single thing outside of Bentley that matches what we can do in infrastructure cloud. And I also just like to acknowledge, since I've been so fortunate to participate in these myself, is the industry engagement and partnership from Bentley through their EAP programs and E365. It's pretty incredible stuff, and it's really I think helped build better products. So with that, you guys, we closing down into the kind of the final 10 minutes of the scheduled presentation. You guys can find me on LinkedIn. Please feel free to scan the QR code on screen. I'd love to connect with you. I'm going to close with this image from our training model in Lumen RT with just a nice little business card put on the sign structure here. And again, I just want to point out to you guys that models are the by far superior way to execute engineering services, right? And they are by far the best communication tools that we've ever had as engineers. So these are reasons that I think this is really going to take over the industry. It is simply a matter of when, not if, that this becomes the regular day-to-day life of civil engineers everywhere. So with that, I'm going to take a look at some of the questions. And Scott or the rest of the Bentley folks, I don't know if you've been looking through these.
Yeah, we're looking through there. A lot of them are directed to you. So I'll let you, if you can see the questions, let me know. If you can't, I'll read them to you.
Yeah, I can see. Let's take a look here.
Yeah. If you scroll all the way down, to the bottom, there was one from a user from BDOT, the DOTs.
Oh, cool. Is the ones to the bottom the oldest? Okay, it looks like.
Yeah, the ones on the bottom are the older ones on the top are the newer ones. So if you want to just start from the bottom and just scroll your way up, or I could read them.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I see them here. So there's a comment here about technology constraints over the last 30 years. Really asking about if design plans are being produced faster now than when they were produced manually by hand. And that's a very good question. I want to just draw a quick comparison to that question. If you took an expert drafter, right? If you took an expert drafter over the last 30 years and asked them to lay out a plan sheet, whether that was a bridge elevation, a roadway plan and profile, you name it, expert level drafter could run that plan sheet through much faster than it would take us to build the model, produce that same plan sheet. I'll give them that, right? If you're an expert level drafter, you can produce that plan sheet very fast. The real change comes from when you have to update something, right? Now, I have never met, and maybe they exist out there, but I have never met an engineer that lays out their design ideas, lays out their set of plans, and they have zero changes for the whole rest of the life of the project. Basically, what I'm trying to say is no one gets it right the first time. You put your best idea on paper, right? And then you go through your iteration process. You go through your review. You learn new information, and that causes you to have changes to the plans. And as you iterate and you see the model reflecting the changes in the plans in a very automated way, there is a payoff that's pretty quick. Like I'd say within the second or third design iteration, where you're really saving time now doing things through the model and just updating the display of that model in the plan. And again, this is comparing like a good modeler to an expert level draftsperson, right? It may seem like they're faster on day one, but if you really measure the life of the project, I don't think there's a comparison here, especially if the design changes are large, right? Basically, the more change there is, the more the model clearly is the superior mechanism. And then there's all the downstream stuff, like I mentioned, with the quantity takeoffs and the estimates and and other activities that are all automated through the model. So you got to really kind of take those things in kind of full effect of each other. So let's take a look at some other questions here. Let's see. Yeah, I see one here. I think I'm understanding this right about incentives. One of the challenges in the industry is kind of the lack of incentives to be faster. And actually, I hope I'm answering this the way it was intended. But one thing I do hear a lot that I'm sure all of you hear a lot is if someone comes to you and says, "Hey, if you build a model-based design that is where you're able to do the work in half the time, does that mean that I should move your scheduled deadline up? Does that mean that if have a contract that's time and materials, that you should only get paid half as much?" And I would suggest that that's not really the right way we want to think about that. By doing certain activities much faster through a model, this optimizes the team's percent time spent on thinking about the design directly. Now, let me say that just another way so it's clear to everyone. If you are doing a traditional set of plans and you have a budget, right, that is a certain amount of hours for detailing those plans, the time a person spends cutting the plan sheet and putting the annotations on the plan, I would suggest to you that that time does not make the design better. It might if they catch an error, but the road or the bridge does not get better because of the time someone spent detailing it in a plan sheet. So if you can cut all that time out and shrink it down very small, that same team now has a greater amount of time, a greater amount of their budget to really think about the design itself, to maybe think about sustainability, maybe think about embodied carbon on the project, maybe think about all kinds of other things like conflicts between the roots of trees and drainage pipes that they didn't have time to look at before. Could be all kinds of different activities that it frees them up to do. So what I would say is that by going through a real optimized model-based design process, you are going to get a better design, right? You're going to see engineering teams really putting out their best work ever because they had the time to do it. And that is really where I think we're going to see the changes early on. And then I'm sure though, over time, there will be obviously other changes that come to production efficiencies and schedules. So let's take a look here. I have a, okay, I'll just address this one real quick. I see a question about Autodesk. What do I think about Autodesk? Autodesk and Bentley are both very great companies, right? And they both make amazing products. You guys heard my statement at the end of the presentation that I really think Bentley's got the edge right now with the best-in-class platform, with the Connect platform and the infrastructure cloud platform. But at the end of the day, everyone is making good tools, right? Everyone is making good tools. What really matters is that you are applying the correct tool for your project. Working on your project, know how to use that tool, right? Taking an expert Bentley team and asking them to go do something in Civil 3D, probably not a very efficient use of that team. And it'd be the opposite, right? You wouldn't want to take an expert Civil 3D team and just dump them in OpenRose Designer and say, figure it out. So you really want to kind of pair people on a project where their skills are with the tools they're being asked to use. And this is actually an important topic in the project manager training we do at VHB. That you really have to be thinking about the software stack and the people you're recruiting to do your project, probably more than ever, I would say. Let's see. Let's try to get through a few more questions here. I see we're at 2:29. I did want to do a demo for you guys.
We could run over a little bit, Kyle. I got about an extra 10 minutes. We can hang out for about 10 more minutes, and then we got to shut it down because I have another session to go to.
Oh, perfect. This one. Yeah, if everyone would permit me, I know you can't talk, but if we can go another 10 minutes. that would be great. We'll try to get through a couple more questions here, and then so seeing people and increasing people's interest in learning and working as 3D modelers. That's a great question. I can speak from my personal experience that if you show people, right, this is where I really kind of alluded to that step one, build better training models. If you can show people what's possible, you will inspire them. And you won't inspire everyone the same way, right? I don't know if they're on the call here, but I've had some great mentors at my last kind of role I was in before joining VHB that really inspired me, right? And showed me things that you could do in the software that I had really no idea about. And you look at, I was one of those people that needed to see that, because as soon as I did, I embodied it. I made it part of myself, and I made it part of my mission in my engineering career. So much to the point that I have fully pivoted my career around technology because I'm so passionate about it. So I might be kind of an extreme anomaly in that data set of people, but it all starts from seeing what's possible, right? So I say this all the time with model-based design and our training model, that I don't want to just talk about it with you, right? I want to show you. I want to put you in infrastructure cloud. I want you to click the buttons yourself and see what this data looks like. Because when you are able to do that, we're all very, rational, critical thinkers in the engineering industry. You're going to make your own conclusion, I think, pretty rapidly when you see a really good infrastructure model. So I think the seeing is believing is very true for increasing people's passion and interest. And out of any set of people, you're going to find that 17. You go show a nice training model to 100 people, the 17 that are really going to be your innovators and early adopters, they'll raise their hand. You'll find them afterwards. All right, let's try to get to another couple questions here. Yeah, great comment here about the transitioning from 2D CAD to models is very much a repeat from when the industry was going from drafting to CAD. Absolutely true, 100%. In fact, I love sharing this internally at VHB, and I encourage all of you to go look for these documents yourself. Go look at the company's plans, the technology plans that your company made in the mid-'80s. Because think about what was happening in the mid-'80s. We had generally centralized computers in offices. It was not normal for everyone to have a computer at their desk, and CAD software was just coming out. Bentley is celebrating their 40th anniversary right now, and I went and looked up the history of Bentley, and you know what? That's spot on. They were founded in 1984. Pseudo Station, which was the precursor to MicroStation, came out the next year, 1985. So if you go look at your company's like technology plans from that period of time, they were struggling with this, and they were saying a lot of the same stuff that I'm saying right now, because because the human side of this is the same thing. These human constraints are because we haven't changed. People are still the same, and we will just keep going through this iteration cycle with technology. I think what is really kind of stunning about personal computers is that happened 40 years ago. So there is not that many people left in the industry that firsthand, including myself. I wasn't. Those documents are the only clue I have as to what it was like. Yeah, I see a question here about the Bentley AI chatbot. Let's go ahead and pull that up, you guys. Now, anyone with Microsoft Copilot can do this, right? I want to preface this by saying any one of you can do this that has Microsoft Copilot. I created, and I put this in the hands of all our Bentley users. And I just want to make sure you all can see this on screen. Okay, it looks like you can see it.
Yeah.
I put this in the hands of all our Bentley users at VHB. Has its knowledge mapped to just the common.bentley.com's website, the Services Now community website, the main website, just bentley.com. Okay. It will emphasize those knowledge sources when answering questions to the user. So what the feeling is like when you use this is like you have a coworker that's always available, that's memorized tens of thousands of pages of Bentley documentation. It's not right all the time. We might see it make a mistake here. But I would suggest that people aren't perfect either. Worker that's really helpful, always available, never gets sick, never takes vacation, and we'll get better over time, right? So I'm going to go ahead and set my microphone down here so I can type into this, and we'll just start by saying hello to Bentley Copilot. You know, I always insist that you're nice to your AI chatbots. You know, one day if they do take over, we want them to be nice to us. So always say please and thank you. Now let's take a look at what this Copilot is doing. It's saying this is a generated response, and it's saying, hey there, it looks like you're ready to dive into some Bentley software. How can I assist you? Are you working on a specific project or a feature in one of these tools? So let's go ahead and ask it, what can you do? And one mistake I do see people make with these AI chatbots is that they generally use them like search engines, like words that they want to look stuff up for. These are generative tools, you guys, and it's actually really helpful if you talk to them like you would talk to a person, right? So I asked it what it could do, and let's see what it says here. This is another AI-generated response. It says, great question. It says, I can help you with guidance and tutorials, with troubleshooting, best practices, comparisons and recommendations, learning resources, tips and tricks, all kinds of good stuff, right? And also just as a personal touch, I would recommend you guys put into your AIs is have them be a little bit funny. If they're going to help us design better infrastructure, it would be nice if they also helped us laugh a little bit. You know, I think that's good. Now let's go ahead and ask some questions like, let's see here. Let's just ask an easy one, right? Let's say, how do I create a cross-section sheet in, and I won't even say open roads, right? I'll just say ORD. How do I create a cross-section sheet in ORD? See what it gives us. Oh, nice. It looks like we got a little workflow here, right? Let's see how good it is. Go to drawing production and use your name boundaries. Place a name boundary. That's good. Use cross-section mode. I like it. Set the necessary parameters like your drawing seed and detail scale. Use the create drawing option and show dialog. Yeah, this is good, you guys. That's what I want to see. Now you notice that there's a little citation here, right? Now this citation came from a PDF. So this citation is not going to take me to the website. But when the citation does go to a Bentley website, it's clickable and you can go right to it. Another one I like to ask is, I'm constantly doing configuration on our projects, and I'm always asking, like, what is this configuration variable? So let me just ask like a basic configuration question. I'll say, what does ms dgn liblist do? Well, this is kind of a different topic than plans production, right? It's kind of a different rabbit hole. It says the dgn liblist variable defines a list of dgn library files to find various elements like levels, line styles, text styles, and more. That's all accurate. A little vague, doesn't get into all the things. And then you notice this one has got a citation, right? It's got a citation to docs.bentley.com. So let's go click on that. Let's pull that open, and oh my God, look at this, you guys. It took me right to MicroStation Connect path configuration variables. And right there, there's my answer. So at the very least, even if it's not right all the time, this tool and tools like it are going to better connect the users of Bentley software to all of the content online for Bentley software. And this is a big thing, you guys, because there is so much information out there in the forums, in the document website, and elsewhere that people just don't know about. And I can tell you that firsthand because I get the questions every single day. I get all kinds of CAD related questions that many of which are answerable by finding them online. And now I'm happy to tell most of the people at VHB, did you ask Bentley Copilot? Because it gets it right quite a lot of the time. And with that, I think we are at 2:40, so I probably
Yeah.
need to go ahead and stop the screen share
Yeah,
now. But
we'll have to shut this down. But Kyle, you can still continue to answer the questions in the chat even when I shut the meeting down. So I'll leave the meeting open for you and I, and you can continue to answer the questions in the chat window. So
excellent.
yeah,
Well,
that was
thank you very much, everyone.